Hello everyone and welcome back to my look at the Donkey Kong Land series, a trilogy of games released one after another to serve as spin-offs or semi-sequels to the Donkey Kong Country series on the Super Nintendo. Whilst these 8-bit games share lots of similarities with their 16-bit big brothers, they are in fact different games, scaled back in 8-bit, offering brand new level layouts and challenges. In my last video I kicked things off by reviewing the first game in the series, and if you want to go back and watch that one to see if it is worth playing, then the link is in the description. If you have never played any of the Donkey Kong Land games, then it will at least give you an introduction to the series and help get you up to speed. In this second part I'll be reviewing one of my favourite games of all time, Donkey Kong Land 2. I'll say right off the bat that this is probably one of the best platform games on the Game Boy, and is the only game in the series that tries so hard to be like a scaled down version of Donkey Kong Country 2. Many people assume that this game is a direct port, and it's easy to think that it is because it looks and plays so similar, but as I mentioned, the levels names for the most remain the same, but with the same gimmicks and new layouts. This being an 8-bit game, Rare tried to get as much as they could, but due to limitations a few changes had to be made, such as Haunted Hall being replaced with Krazy Koaster and Castle Crush being replaced with Dungeon Danger. As much as I think this game is a technical achievement just like its predecessor, and it is a personal favourite of mine, I will be trying to take an objective look at the game to see if it was worth playing back in the day and if it is worth playing today. I also want to try and address some of the opinions I've heard in other reviews on YouTube. Many people claim that this game doesn't offer up anything new, unlike the first game, which introduced something alternative and exclusive to Game Boy owners. Also that some problems which plagued the first game resurface. I'll be looking at these points later on for sure. So in the meantime, grab yourself a nice hot beverage and a banana, and let us head back into Donkey Kong Land to examine the second game. Donkey Kong Land 2 was released for the Game Boy in 1996 and was also another Super Game Boy compatible title. Now the Super Game Boy was an add-on which connected to the Super Nintendo and allowed Game Boy owners to play Game Boy games on their TV. Whilst it would play all original monochrome games with the Super Game Boy logo on them would have a specially enhanced screen and colour palette and exclusive border. In the case of the Donkey Kong Land series, all 3 games came in banana yellow cartridges and all were Super Game Boy compatible. This meant that this would better showcase the advanced HM graphics that each one had. Donkey Kong Land 2's story is the same as in the second country game. K.rool and his Kremling army have returned and kidnapped Donkey Kong, one of the heroes from the first game. K.rool is now going by the moniker Captain K.rool and is demanding that the Kongs hand over their entire banana horde in exchange for Donkey's safe return. Diddy Kong however refuses and decides to go to Crocodile Isle, the home island of the Kremlings, to attempt a rescue. This time he is teaming up with his girlfriend and newcomer to the Game Boy series, Dixie Kong. Dixie also wants to prove herself as a video game hero just as much as Diddy does, and the two feel that by rescuing their buddy they hope to accomplish this. Starting up the game, and it's clear that everything has had a massive overhaul. The title screen's graphics looks incredible and the intro music is the same as in DKC2 and sounds just as awesome in 8-bit. The map screen and its worlds have also been ripped from that game, and you will move through each level and world in the same fashion. This time Funky Kong, the cool ape from Donkey Kong Country, and Wrinkly Kong, Cranky's wife, appear at certain points in every location. Funky has a barrel blasting service which will blast you to areas you have already been to, whilst Wrinkly Kong will save your game for you. Using their services for the first time on each world is free. Any time after that though will cost you 2 banana coins. This game is very much a collectathon, with levels featuring hidden bonus rooms which now require you to complete a specific challenge within a strict time limit, such as bash the baddies or collect stars. Successfully fulfill the requirements and you'll be rewarded with a Krem coin. Also there's a large DK coin hidden on each level. Trying to collect both DK and Krem coins will actually unlock some hidden stuff which I will talk about in the spoilers section later. You will also notice that this time the sprites are much smaller than in Donkey Kong Land, Diddy, Dixie, and even the enemies return from Donkey Kong Country 2, and there are far more frames of animation in this game, meaning that our heroes zip about the levels a lot quicker than was possible in the last game. Diddy retains his signature moves, and newcomer Dixie Kong joins with some amazing abilities. Not only does she boast a wicked cool ponytail which can whip enemies out of the way, she can also use her tresses to lift barrels and projectiles above her head to throw and take out the Kremling nasties with ease. Dixie can also jump and float using her ponytail, allowing her to reach areas that Diddy alone cannot reach. Just as in the last game, only one Kong appears on screen at a time, and provided you have found a DK barrel, then you can select either Diddy or Dixie right off the bat. The graphics are even more defined, with some of the same rendered features, such as the pirate ship looking far more detailed than ever before. Rare have really squeezed the juice in this hardware a lot more, with the emphasis on trying to outdo themselves in the last LAN game. Also, the screen is lighter where possible so that the player can see a bit more clearly. Whilst I personally accept the fact that some players may still struggle on the monochrome Gameboy, I do believe that this struggle is lessened because of the changes made. Although I wasn't a fan of most of the choices Rare made with some of the darker graphics, I do understand that they were trying to replicate the second country game and probably didn't want to just phone it in and give players less of an experience. Also, every individual level is different, and although may borrow some of the same gimmicks and backgrounds, each offers a unique challenge. Plus, I get the sense that had they not bothered putting in the same kind of effort with this game, then people may have complained that they didn't try, so perhaps Rare were between a rock and a hard place. Also, they have now worked very hard to fix the camera issues that Donkey Kong Land had, with the action now more zoomed out, making it a bit easier to navigate each level within a limited frame. Whilst this game uses the same hearts represented as live system, which worked well in the last game, now collecting all 4 Kong letters will not save the game, but will now net you an extra life, which works a lot better. You will also be collecting the trademark bananas, and nabbing 100 of these will also grant you an additional life. In order to pay for the services of Wrinkly and Funky Kong, you will need to look out for banana coins that are in most levels. Although some reviewers balked at this method, I actually didn't mind, and felt it made the game more challenging, slightly longer, and if I failed without finding Wrinkly to save the game, it just made me try a lot harder. All the worlds are present and correct, with 5 exciting locations offering much more varied and larger levels containing some of the same tough challenges in Donkey Kong Country 2, as well as the same themes and names. There's Gangplank Galley, in a world where you'll be rolling around on the top of K.rool's pirate ship, swimming through Lockjaw's Locker, one of many labyrinthian underwater stages, returning to climb the rigging on the ship to then fight a massive giant crow who blocks the passage to Creme Cauldron. Now, the second world, Creme Cauldron, weirdly merges with Creme Key from Donkey Kong Country 2, which in that game was its own separate world, and because of these changes, Creme Cauldron is one of the largest and most challenging in this game. You start off trying to conquer levels taking place across hot lava on foot and by using hot air balloons. Then you must use a seal called Clapper to cool down the water temporarily to swim through another sunken vessel. Take too long and the water will be scalding hot. You also have to blast and fly up a few mine shafts. Then the next part of the world introduces you to dangerous swamp-like levels, where the Kongs have to rely on stalks, crockheads and barrels in some cases. A few levels also take place on another ship, where the name of the game is to once again navigate the main deck and then climb the rigging upwards, whilst avoiding some rising toxic slime before a boss battle with Cleaver, this massive possessed weapon who rises from the lava, who will try to stop the Kongs from entering the next world, Krazy Kremland. I think the reason Rare merged the 2 worlds into one in this game was because Kujal, the boss of Donkey Kong Country 2's animations, may have proved to be quite difficult to successfully replicate on the Game Boy. To combat this, Rare put the worlds together and had Cleaver be the main boss. I think it was a wise move in retrospect, because it lets the player know that hey, we may have struggled a little bit, but at least we're giving you a little bit more challenge in this game. World 3 is Krazy Kremland, where the Kongs must work their way through deadly wasp-infested hives, utilise out-of-control roller coasters across broken treacherous tracks, blasting and climbing through spiky brambles and trying to take out an angry King Zing who awaits at the end. The next world is the haunted ghostly grove, where careful navigation involves jumping on disappearing reappearing ghost ropes, avoiding nasty gusts of wind which can either help or hinder you, descending down a massive wasp-filled hive which contains more enemies and multiple paths, and destroying the ghost of Crow you defeated in World 1. K.rool's Keep is in many ways the final world in the game, and has some of the best looking levels and gimmicks seen so far. You'll be swimming through a beautiful underwater Arctic level, working for a tough dungeon and chain link level, temporarily turning water into ice to make progress, navigating the Kongs up a windy well with some awesome wind effects. There's also Toxic Tower, which essentially uses the same gimmick as Slime Climb, where the name of the game is to progress upwards as quickly as possible, avoiding the rising sludge. And my personal favourite is Screech's Sprint, where you need to use Squawks the Parrot to race against Screech, K.rool's pet bird, with the goal being to get into first place. All this before a major battle with Captain K.rool himself, who has been given a major upgrade. Those of you who felt a little jaded with the lack of animal buddy action in the last game will be pleased to know that Rare have placed everyone from Donkey Kong Country 2 in this second land adventure, and all of them play a far more prominent role this time around. In fact, some levels or bonus battles can't be completed without using them, and like Diddy and Dixie, the sprites are much smaller, have more animation and control just perfectly. We have Rambi the Rhino who can take out enemies with ease, dashing at enemies, Squawks the Parrot who can fly around certain stages, attacking enemies with nuts, Rattly the Rattlesnake who can jump extremely high and can also jump on zingers without taking damage, Squitter the Spider who can use his webs to not only destroy enemies but to also create web platforms to reach higher areas and bonuses that Dixie and Diddy cannot themselves reach. On Guard the Swordfish makes his Game Boy debut and can be found on most of the underwater stages, and finally there's Clapper the Seal. He can be found on a couple of levels where the Kongs need to cool down or freeze water temporarily. The bosses themselves deserve a special mention because Rare have really upped the ante with some of the most impressive looking ever to appear on a Game Boy. Each one retains its look and signature attacks from Donkey Kong Country 2, with the only exception being Kujel, who isn't in the game. I mean, just check out Creepy Crow, who forces you to jump over mini neckies before trying to throw an egg at him, or King Zing, who, although has been scaled back in how many hits he takes due to limitations, he still moves erratically and is just as intimidating as ever. I can't believe I've got through this review without mentioning the 8-bit renditions of each level's themes. The Game Boy's sound capabilities is kind of like a doorbell, so trying to fit the in-game music would be quite challenging. Rare somehow managed to transpose a lot of Donkey Kong Country 2's theme music and compact it into the Game Boy, and it sounds absolutely amazing. I will say that it is one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard in any Game Boy game, and another example of pushing the hardware to maximum. Okay, so now to address the opinions I've heard many reviewers said about this game. Firstly, it doesn't do anything different, is essentially the same game, and doesn't offer anything new. Well, that's true to some extent. I mean, if you have played Donkey Kong Country 2 and then Donkey Kong Land 2, then yes, veterans would understandably feel this way. The only differences are new level layouts, as I keep harping on about. Back in the day, however, not everyone could afford Donkey Kong Country 2, which had a hefty price tag of around £50, particularly in my household where I only really got games for Christmas or birthdays, and my pocket money just wouldn't stretch that far. So being able to buy Donkey Kong Land 2 was a great option, as not only was it a fraction of the price, but it gave me a dose of what I was missing out on. It does however offer quite a lot to Game Boy owners who may not have had a SNES or Donkey Kong Country 2, introducing them to the Kong universe, and is a case of developers not wanting 8-bit owners to miss out, putting as much as they could into the small cartridge. Now, even playing DKC2 years later when it dropped in price, I still don't mind playing both games. And yes, again, one could argue that they are almost identical, but if you love Donkey Kong Country 2, then why not see Donkey Kong Land 2 as kind of an add-on or mission pack? The second point was that although this camera issue was fixed to some extent, enemies can just simply appear out of nowhere and take you by surprise. Now, I agree wholeheartedly with this point. Whilst it's nowhere near as bad as in Donkey Kong Land, there are a few occasions where this would happen, particularly when playing any of the underwater stages. There's just no time to react when you are swimming down until it is too late. I had a similar problem on Screech's Sprint. Just like in Donkey Kong Country 2, the goal is to fly through a bramble and wasp filled level and make it to the end, ensuring you finish before Screech. Now this on its own doesn't sound too bad, and it really isn't in theory. I did find that when flying up again, I had the same problems as when swimming downwards, in that the wasps just pop up out of nowhere and I would have no time to react. It by no means makes the level unplayable, but it is really annoying. However, I do understand that Rare were really trying to push the hardware, and because of this there were going to be issues. Now, as good as some of the colours that they chose for each level, some choices they made were a little baffling. I get that Rare were trying to make this just like Donkey Kong Country 2, but some colour schemes such as the dark brown mines just don't look good. I would have preferred a lighter colour here. However, in contrast to this, some levels look absolutely gorgeous. In particular, the green colours for the bramble levels and the white backgrounds makes it far easier to see what's happening. Given the limitations, I think Rare did their best, and whilst there may be some issues that I or others don't agree with, I think they did their very best under the circumstances. As I mentioned earlier, there are incentives for finding every Krem coin and DK coin on every level. Please be warned that this next part will contain spoilers pertaining to the end of the game, and if you don't want to know what happens, then please skip ahead. I will give you some time to do this. Okay, so I worked my way through each and every single level, found all the bonus rooms, collected all the Krem coins, DK coins, and now it's time to put a stop to Captain K.rool. After completing Toxic Tower, Diddy and Dixie reach the top and find their buddy Donkey tied up. Before they can set him free, he is whisked off to the Flying Croc, which is K.rool's personal airship. There's now just one level between you and a fight with the King of the Kremlins, and that's Screech's Sprint. As I mentioned earlier, this level has you play Squawks the Parrot, where the goal is to get to the halfway point and then race against K.rool's pet bird. You have to attain first place in order to win. You also have to find an additional bonus room and DK coin here, but they're both super easy to find. Now it's time for a fight with Captain K.rool himself. Well, compared to the SNES, the fight takes place in a very small room, and holy hell, look how impressive K.rool looks compared to the last game. He is absolutely huge and sporting a massive blunderbuss. He will start to fire cannonballs at you, varying their speed, height and distance before lunging towards you. The objective is to avoid everything he throws at you until he fires a single barrel, which needs to be stomped on to reveal a cannonball. Grab it, fight the wind velocity and throw it into the blunderbuss. You must rinse and repeat whilst adapting to his many patterns. Now, compared to Donkey Kong Country 2, he should go down surprisingly easy. Once this is done, Donkey Kong then punches K.rool through the window and he falls to his death. Now that's what I call an ending. Then a video game hero's screen appears and ranks you based upon how many DK coins you were able to collect. Now, if you collected every single one so far, you should be in second place. Second place? Second place, I hear you cry? I thought the goal was to become first. Well, this is not the end of the game. After this, Rare gives you one of the best endings I've ever seen on the Game Boy, which makes up for the lack of one in the last game. Now, eagle-eyed viewers will have spotted a new icon on K.rool's Keep Open Up called Clubber's Kiosk. This huge muscle-bound Kremlin guards the bridge to a secret lost world, and you can only cross it by paying him all 47 Krem coins you have attained. Once this is done, you are free to enter any time you like. Now, the Lost World contains 5 of the hardest stages in the game, and whilst they take a lot of inspiration from DKC2's Lost World, they are a lot easier and can be beaten in about an hour or so. Even Animal Antics is extremely tame here and it's just a bog standard level. Now about those remaining DK coins. This time Rare have hidden the remaining 5 coins in bonus barrels and there's 1 per level. So now, to confuse you even more, you have to find a bonus barrel, complete a challenge and you will get a DK coin instead of a Krem coin. Blimey, this is really confusing. Still, persist and you will soon have him in your grasp, and it's time for another battle with K.rool, who returns. This battle is pretty much the same, except he does some really cool things with his cannon barrels. However, he just goes down very easily, just like last time. Once you beat him, you will grab first place and become the true video game hero on the ranking screen. Take that, Mario. With all the hard work out the way, the roll call screen appears again, which is a really nice touch. So in conclusion, is Donkey Kong Land 2 worth playing back in the day and also today? Definitely. Rare were masters at pushing systems to produce more than they should, and this second Kong adventure again fixes many of the issues that the first game suffered from. The game's controls are tight and responsive, the world's more challenging with secrets to unlock for collectathons. It's also a lot larger than Donkey Kong Land, meaning that you won't be finishing this in one go. There's so much fun, imagination, diverse level structure and enemies, and it's a shining example of why Donkey Kong Land 2 deserves your attention today. Go out and play it. If you haven't, you won't be disappointed. Thank you so much for watching my review. If you have enjoyed it, then why not like, share my content and subscribe to my channel, as you'll really be helping it to grow and you will be instantly notified every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much again. Look after yourselves and I'll see you next time for the final part in the Donkey Kong Land series, Donkey Kong Land 3. See you soon.